Hello, once again to another episode of Spider Does Things, the show. And that's me, your good buddy Spider, and I'm doing things, and this is the show. Clever. Very clever. I want to point out first, I didn't intend to make another episode this soon. It's only like about a week or so after my last episode, as far as I'm recording. But, stuff came up, like it does, and I wanted to talk about it. And I do have to say, I want to put out an apology, not like, oh, I apologize for this big terrible thing I did. No, the last episode, my audio, the mic audio, had this real high-pitched piercing ring going on in the background, which does happen sometimes with my mic setup. Something to do with the cord. Maybe I need to replace the cord. I hope not. But it was steadily like increasing by a tiny amount throughout the whole episode, and it got really, I'm sure it bothered people. And I'm going to try to make sure I listen to my audio ahead of time and try to make sure that's not happening before I press the record button, so that it doesn't blow out your eardrums and things like that, because I know it can be problematic. Let me adjust my volume here. I think it's a little low. Let me see. Put it up to there. I don't want to overwhelm you with my volume, but I don't want to be too quiet either. I'm still kind of playing around with it. I think I need to get a filter, pop filter, for my mic. Maybe that'll help with the noise. I don't know, something. But welcome to episode 6 of the show, of the podcast. Thank you for everybody who's been listening. I have been paying attention, and I've noticed the listener numbers steadily increasing, and I appreciate that. I definitely do. We're in the middle of some heavy winter weather right now here in Ohio. We don't have the worst of it, but we got hammered pretty hard. There's like a belt running through, almost through the exact center of the United States, across multiple states. I think I heard something like 13, 14 states, maybe more, that are affected directly by it's not really one winter storm anymore, but a series of winter events, I guess you could say. And I used to watch, well, in the spring and in the summer, when tornado season is at its highest, I've been watching a couple of weather guys on YouTube, and I'm not going to say who they are, not because I don't want to give them any credit for what I'm watching, but because sometimes they're really helpful and they're really informative, and other times they're ambulance chasing. Like 75-80% of the time they're throwing up these big graphics that show these huge storm areas when really there's a localized storm in Texas somewhere, which is still problematic for the people there, but they get everybody worked up through this whole giant band of space across the country when it's not going to affect most of those people. And so it's a little disingenuous. So I don't want to drive anybody to their channels, and I don't want to badmouth them either. You know, they're just doing what they're doing on YouTube, and that's fine. And I'm not going to point and laugh or try to call them out or something, because I have found them useful at some points. I just think that they build up the hype machine for some fear clicks, you know, some fear bait. Let's talk about something that happened very recently, and something I had talked about happening on the last episode. I said that there was a lot of stuff going on in the world where countries were basically, the governments were collapsing, like France's fell apart, Germany's is falling apart, Canada's was falling apart, and it might still be. But as far as Canada goes, Canada, their prime minister did resign. And I believe that was yesterday. I'm trying to get a news story. Yeah, this was yesterday. I'm going to pull up. This is from CNN, so, take it for what it is. And I know people are going to be like, oh, well, what's wrong with CNN? Well, the same thing that's wrong with Fox, and the same thing that's wrong with MSNBC, and the same thing that's wrong with the Daily Wire, and the same thing that's wrong with a lot of the big partisan party news outlets from either side. You can't exactly take it at face value. You have to do some cross-referencing to make sure they're talking about something that actually is correct. And I'm not a crazy person. I'm not going to go out and say that all your news is fake. I'm not going to do that. But the big networks, they're not interested in reporting the facts. They're interested in getting the clicks, just like those guys on YouTube. Okay? They're interested in getting money. So, Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, he announced his resignation on Monday. And he's going to step down as soon as a new party leader is chosen. Because he's also going to step out of his ruling Liberal Party. He's not going to be part of the party anymore. And his whole deal has been a disaster. He went way out of his way to try to be as progressive as possible, and I get it. I'm not trying to use that as a bad word or like a bad thing, but he really alienated a lot of people in just trying to push so many things so quickly, and people either aren't ready for them or maybe they're just not good ideas. There's a lot of complications about it, and I don't live in Canada, so I'm not going to begin to try to talk about what their economy is like or anything like that, because I don't know. I don't follow Canadian politics as closely as I follow here in the United States, so I'm not going to pretend that I know everything that's going on up there. And he's been Prime Minister for 9 years, which is a long time for a world leader, but not so much outside the U.S., I suppose. I guess outside of the U.S., they don't have the term limits that we do. So you can be in charge for a long time. And the thing about it is that he ran on a platform of trying to fight climate change and abuses against indigenous people and things like that. But when you go for those big issues like that, and I'm not going to downplay big or small, that kind of thing. I don't have a stake in that. When you go for that, you have to make sure you don't forget the smaller things, the basic things, like the basic economy, people's ability to go out and get affordable food, affordable medicine, etc. And a lot of that stuff fell on the downslide. And that's a lot of what happened here in the United States over the last however many years. It's been a long time. We've been getting a lot of pushes for big reforms and big changes and big government upheavals, and the underneath people, like myself, have seen our groceries go from about $200 some bucks to be able to feed my family of 3 for a month to $400 or $500 to feed my family of 3 for a month. And that's eating almost everything. That's not just, that's not us having extra at the end of that and just padding it out. Because we used to be able to do that. So we used to spend a little bit more on occasion to pad that out, and we were pretty well filled up on food. And now we go through most of our perishables and things by the time the month is over. So we need to replenish. And we need to refill our stocks. So, and it's difficult. I know people are tired of hearing that probably. They're probably like, oh yeah, groceries this, gasoline this, whatever. But it's a real thing. The economy in the U.S. has not really improved at this level. I don't know if it's improved for people in the upper middle class, but it's not improved for those of us down towards the more middle, towards the lower end of that. It's just steadily gotten more difficult. And I'm not putting that out there as a, hey, I need money, you guys make sure you donate to my whatever. I'm not doing that either. I'm just stating it as a fact. I'm okay. I mean, we're getting by. We're paying our bills. We got food. We're not starving. We can get back and forth to work. You know, we're okay. But it's difficult. It is difficult. I'm not going to blow smoke about it. I'm not going to make it to be something it's not. It's difficult. And so Canada has had to deal with that, and they didn't like it. And apparently Trudeau is resigning because all the indicators are that when there's a general election held later this year, 2025, that he's expected to lose because of that kind of thing. And it makes sense. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world economy, especially after the virus years. Everything kind of went up and down, topsy-turvy, and it's been difficult for much of the world economy to recover because everybody's so tied together. The United States is so tied with various Asian companies and with various European countries and vice versa. So it's been a struggle. So we'll see how that goes. But it is interesting because I was saying that it looked like Canada's government was having some problems along with those other ones, and now there we go. And no, I don't think that Canada is going to become part of the United States. I know Trump says what he says. He talks about them. He talks about Greenland. He talks about the Panama Canal. I don't think any of that is likely to happen. I think that's just talk on his regard. I don't instantly jump at everything he says and believe it as he's stating facts that that's what's going to happen. He says a lot of things to either get people riled up or to plant ideas in people's heads. I don't know if he has any intention of following through on a lot of the stuff that he says. Most of it's for talk. And I'm not saying that he's like a liar. I'm not saying that he isn't. I'm not taking a side. I'm just saying a lot of what he says is just stuff he says and not stuff that he's doing. And you can take that however you want. He's not the first politician to do that, though. You know, it's not unique to him. He's not any better or worse than anybody else for saying that and doing that. He's just the loudest in a while, to be honest, and gotten the most attention at it. But no, I don't think Canada is going to become the 51st state of the United States of America. I don't think that's likely to happen. If it does happen, I will be awfully surprised. I will eat an entire bowl of poutine with the curds and all that and make myself sick. There was something that, this is big news that's not in my headline of the episode. But this is pretty big news. I'm super interested about this. Zuckerberg. He's not a person I usually talk to. Mr. Mark Zuckerberg, the guy who owns and operates Facebook. He's announced, and they've started to do it, that Facebook is not going to use its well-entrenched fact-checking network anymore. Which I think is good news. Because a lot of the times, the fact-checkers that Facebook used came from places like Snopes, or from places that were just, they'll say, oh yeah, we're bipartisan, we're nonpartisan, we're whatever, but they clearly are like, we're not going to buck the trend. We see that, this is what the prevailing opinion is, so this is what we're going to declare as fact. And you saw a lot of problems with that during the virus years. There was a lot of good information that flew under the radar or was labeled as flat out wrong when it wasn't researched properly. And a lot of people had their accounts shut down or their posts locked or different things. And we came about after that and discovered that, hey, you know what? A lot of these people, there was a lot of things that were supposedly declared as misinformation that were not. And I'm not going to go into specifics because I don't want to start any arguments with people who want to. I went through my period of time where I had links upon links and reams of information and stacks of paperwork to try to show people, hey, this is research for my side, only to have someone's rebuttal be, oh yeah, well, the CDC says this, or the WHO says this, or Fauci says this, or whoever. And I don't know. I'm done playing that link war. I'm done playing that whatever. Anytime somebody says, oh yeah, show your sources, it's just a trap nowadays. It's a trap for them to say, oh yeah, that's not a legitimate source, or, well, they were declared this by this, and you're just making that up, and there's no winning. There's no winning that way. And there never was. Like, people would just eventually stoop to insults against me and tell me that I was an idiot, or that I was stupid, or that I was full of it, or whatever. They wouldn't even read the links. They wouldn't even read the stuff. From universities, from accredited peer-reviewed journals. I didn't just go on YouTube and find some guy who was talking about something. I didn't just go Google the answer and be like, oh yeah, see, look, this is what it says. I did a lot of research, and when people hear you say you do research, they're like, oh yeah, that's just because you're a conspiracy theorist, and I'm sure you do research. You research people who are wrong. It's like, no. I research places like Johns Hopkins University and the National Institute of Health and all these other places who have contradicting articles. You know, I look into this stuff. I paid attention. And it didn't, nobody cared. People are set in what they believe, and that's it. And that's fine. That's fine. But I'm pleased. Pardon me, I'm a bit sniffly. I've got the winter sniffles. I'm pleased that Facebook is getting rid of this network of unproven fact checkers, people who you can't really say one way or the other whether the facts that they're using are based on truth or not. And I don't want to get into alternative facts and all that, because that's a loaded thing too. I'm just saying, some people, when they say something is a fact, they don't really know, or they just believe it because they read it somewhere. It's not because they actually followed the trail to find out who declared it, what the research was, etc., etc., etc. So I'm pretty pleased about that. The fact checkers were some of the worst on Facebook. This is kind of funny. Okay, I got busted once because I was being a jokester. I deliberately had a joke meme. I posted a meme about virus-infected toilet paper or something like that. And it's the only thing that they hit me with a fact check for, to say that it wasn't true. And I had said, in the post, I said, I know this is a fake thing, this is just a funny meme, but I think it's funny, and I posted it. I declared it knowing that it was just, I prepared people ahead of time. I was like, no, this is just a joke, it's not true. And they fact-checked it to show that it wasn't true. It's the only thing that they did, though. None of my other things that I ever posted about it ever got fact-checked. Which is an interesting point. A very interesting point. About how I do my my research and my job and stuff. And I think, I have a feeling my mic is doing that thing again. Let me see if I can unplug here and see if I can put my headset into it, because I don't usually listen with a headset. I'm real close to the mic now, so, and see if it's doing that thing. No, it's not too bad, honestly. Yeah, it's not that bad. Okay. So, yeah, I'm just I'm gonna let it go. It's got a lot of air rushing, but it's okay. We'll let it go. I'll figure out the mic problem in the future there. So yeah, the fact checkers, they're not doing that anymore, which I think is good. I think it's a good thing. It's also, I mean, I know they also said that they're going to pull back on when they flag certain things with AI, which to the one point is good, but on the other hand, some of the things they mentioned, they don't pay enough attention to manual reports, and if they're going to go back to relying on manual reports, they need to make sure their people are paying attention, because a lot of stuff flies under their radar and just gets passed by. There's a lot of really hateful things that get said through Facebook and social media. But you know what? I noticed, too, that Facebook really honestly is becoming less and less relevant. Did you notice that? Like, there's people, I know there's plenty of people who still want to promote artistic things like music or whatever through Facebook. And Facebook is, as far as I've noticed, one of the worst places for self-promotion on the internet today. Everybody skips that stuff. There's so many advertisements and there's so many fake posts and there's so many fake profiles that trying to promote anything through Facebook is near impossible. I promote through YouTube now because I've found that to be a lot more rewarding and a lot more satisfying long term as far as getting the attention that you're looking for and the subscribers and the retention. Facebook just, it doesn't work in that regard. The algorithm is far too aggressive that if you're not an instant viral success on something, you don't make any progress of any kind. And you're gonna... I'm operating partner with Big Buff Records, which is right now, a hip-hop label. We're branching out into rock and metal and stuff, and I'm trying to facilitate that. But for now, we're hip-hop. And a common theme among most of the local rappers in this area, and I'm not just talking about the people on my label, I'm talking about in general in the scene, is that I'm the best rapper around. I make the best beats. I'm the best this, I'm the best that. And it's a common thing, but none of these people are able to combat the algorithm on Facebook. Because none of them are able to go viral. Because Facebook is too tight-fisted with the automation to do that. Nobody in the local area making claims like that has managed to go viral. And it's not for lack of trying. Oh, excuse me. Like I said, I got the snowy sniffles, the winter sniffles, and I hope that this is just like a couple days of discomfort. I've been out in the cold too often for the last several days. Anyway, pardon me. That's probably gross. So, yeah, if you're going to do any sort of promotion, try to get any sort of notice or attention on an artistic project or anything like that, don't use Facebook. Use something else. I don't know how good things work on Twitter/X these days. I don't use it. I'm not going to start using it. I know people who've had pretty good success on TikTok, but TikTok is really volatile right now, and it could still potentially be blocked here in the United States, depending on what the feds are going to do with it. It's really up in the air right now. And I think TikTok as a whole is kind of worthless, to be honest. I know a lot of people get attention there, but it's flash in the pan, overnight stuff, and then you're here and then you're gone. So I wouldn't trust it, but if it works for you, it works for you. I don't have experience with it because I don't use it. I don't use Blue Sky. I don't use Threads. I don't use most of the other things that are out there. I have my Twitch account for my games, and I port that over to YouTube, and YouTube is my primary repository for everything. Which reminds me, if you're not listening to this episode on YouTube, then you might not know about my YouTube. It is Spider Does Things. You can go there, subscribe, watch some videos, drop some likes. All of these episodes will eventually find their way over there, along with my more family-friendly show, Let's Talk About This, which is due for a new episode very soon. And it's on its third season. Although the third season has taken as long as like 2 seasons all on its own because of how far and in between I've gotten on it. But all my music is there, all my gaming videos, everything ends up on YouTube. Spirits Club from the drink reviews. Some food reviews are up there. Some sandwiches from fast food places. I was going to try to do the McRib and see if it's any good lately. I know I've had it before years ago, but I haven't had one in I don't know how long. And I was going to try to review one, but I don't know if it's still going to be there by the time I have the money. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, YouTube, Spider Does Things. Same as this show. Subscribe, watch some videos, drop some likes. I'd really appreciate it. Let's talk about... the WWE. I haven't done a proper WWE review since Survivor Series. And I watched the debut of WWE Raw on Netflix last night. Because Netflix is getting into live events. I know they handled the Tyson Jake Paul fight, which was apparently really bad. Not just the content of the fight, that's a whole other story. But how they were able to do the streaming, like a lot of people lost connectivity and things like that, and it dropped out a bunch of times, it froze up. So I was interested in seeing how that tech has improved, if at all, since then. And for the Raw debut, which was January 6th of 2025, it held steady. And you could pause it. You could pause live events, because I had to get up and get food and put my daughter to bed and do different things throughout the show. And you could search within it, and everything was cool before the event was even over. So, and it was interesting. It resolved a lot of things. A lot of people saw it as just an overdone regular episode and not the big event that it was promised as. But I think a lot happened, to be honest. I think they did set up a lot of things for the future. You had The Rock come out. He tied up the loose ends of him working with Cody Rhodes and the Bloodline and things like that. So I'm not sure where he's going to go next with it. I'm interested in finding out. There were a few matches. There weren't a lot. Which matches were they? You had Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan, and Rhea Ripley won her women's championship belt back, which should end that storyline, hopefully. And for some reason, The Undertaker came out on his motorcycle and gave her congratulations. So apparently she's part of The Undertaker's friends of the dead man, I guess. I don't know. It was interesting. It was fun. Cena came out and announced that he was going to be in the Royal Rumble for his final year. He's going to retire at the end of 25, so he's got a whole year of stuff to do. What other matches were they? Roman Reigns finally beat Solo Sikoa for the tribal necklace. So I'm interested to see where exactly all that's going to go now, because that's pretty definitive. That's kind of putting a stamp on it and being like, hey, this is it. That's done. And after that, they teased the next 2K wrestling game, 2K25, which seems super soon after 24. But in retrospect, they put out a new one every year. I'm playing 23 still right now. I didn't get 24. But now that 25 is coming out, then maybe 24 will be dirt cheap. I'll pick that up too. I don't know. So 23, 24, 25, whatever. They had Jey Uso versus Drew McIntyre, and Jey Uso won, which puts more of the I'm so angry at everybody into Drew McIntyre, which I think is kind of played out, but I don't know. We'll see where it goes from here. And they had CM Punk versus Seth Rollins, which I didn't really, they're both okay. I've never been a big fan of either guy, but it was an okay match. Hopefully that feud is over. I don't think it will be, though. I think they're going to continue some of that. Hulk Hogan came out with Jimmy Hart, and he got booed. Hulk Hogan in a WWE arena got booed. Like, not even subtly. Like, it was a good portion of the crowd booed him out. And he was really only there to help prop the Netflix thing, the partnership with Netflix and Raw. But he got booed really bad, and I have to wonder, because this was in Los Angeles, so it's in California, which is heavy blue state territory if you're going to get into political landscape stuff. And I have to wonder if it's because he declared for Trump at the DNC a few months back. In 24. I have to wonder if it's because of that primarily that they booed him. Because WWE, wrestling fans have typically usually been conservative for the most part. I'm not saying they all vote Republican, but they've been more conservative because that's kind of the landscape that wrestling came out of. Pro wrestling. And they've had a lot of stereotypes that fit that design. And I mean, Logan Paul is still there, and he's buddy with Trump, and he's kind of a douche. I'm not going to apologize for that. He's kind of a douche as far as everything else that he's done with his life. I don't think he deserves to have any of the fame that he's got, but whatever, he's got it and I don't. So what else can I say about it? If I go on and on and on about it, it'll just be sour grapes, and I honestly am not that invested of it. I just don't care for him. But he won't get a mention like every single episode of this show because it's not that big of a deal. He's made his money, he's famous, and I'm not, so... But I can still complain once in a while. Because I can. But yeah, Hulk Hogan got booed. Fascinating times. And he looks old, though. He looks really old. His arms are sagging. There's no way he hits the gym at all the way like he used to. There's no way he's hitting the gym and doing weights. He walked like an old man. You know how when you get to, like, not you specifically, but you know how when people get kind of elderly to a certain point where they walk a certain way, not necessarily with trepidation, but just kind of like, it's difficult to describe, but you walk like an older person. And I don't feel bad saying that because that's going to happen to me. It's going to happen to you. It's going to happen to all of us. It's not something to make fun of. It's just something to note. That when you get to a certain age, you walk a certain way, either because of pain you have or just because of difficulty moving around or your mind is in a different spot. And the Hulk Hogan has that old person's walk. He's old, man. He's old, brother. Everybody gets old, brother. That's how it goes. Oh, that sniffles. I hate making those kind of noises on here because I know it drives people crazy. People hate it. People hate it. But yeah, Raw on Netflix wasn't bad. And they've already got a good amount of content there as well. Like, I wondered what they were going to bring. When Triple H was talking about the move to Netflix, he said they were going to add a bunch of content. They said you could watch most of WWE's content on it. As far as syndicated stuff, you wouldn't be able to watch anything else live, just Raw. But you'd be able to watch a bunch of other stuff. And they've got a bunch of classic episodes of Raw. They've got a bunch of, like, wrestler highlights and things of that nature. So I'm interested to see where it goes. They've got that, and they've got the Peacock. Peacock is a month behind on both Raw and SmackDown. And the only thing that's current on theirs is its premium live events. So I don't have a way to watch SmackDown right now. I don't have USA Network, and TV subscriptions are just ridiculously expensive right now. Ridiculously, if I could speak correctly for a moment to you. Ridiculously expensive. I looked into YouTube TV thinking, oh, well, they must be cheaper than the other guys because they're trying to compete, and they're bad too. I don't want to talk too badly of YouTube because they're my platform of choice for my content, but they're not great on their TV pricing either. And I understand that stuff's expensive, though. I get it. It's expensive. It's not cheap to put out. There's a lot of licenses and a lot of rights fees and the big corporate conglomerates and things. Like, Disney just merged with somebody else. They ran a lawsuit with somebody called Fubo over something. And they apparently lost the lawsuit, but they still, for whatever reason, they now own like 70% of Fubo. I was reading about it, and it didn't make a whole lot of sense. It was like, if you lost the lawsuit, why would you be allowed to buy out that much of it? But I don't know what Fubo owns as far as that kind of stuff. I guess Fubo's going to partner with Hulu and whatever, which is owned by Disney right now, and a few other things. But all those big collections of broadcasting companies all owned together under big roofs by specific individual companies now, like Disney or whoever. It's expensive. There's a lot of stuff involved, and I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. Just because I get it doesn't mean I have to like it, though. Oh, goodness. What's going on with things in the world? I know that's really vague, but we've had a few other big stories recently. We had in Las Vegas, in front of a Trump hotel, a guy blew up a Cybertruck after ending his own life. He used an app to make sure that the Cybertruck blew up. That guy apparently had a residence just a few miles north of here, in Ohio, near where I used to work. It's crazy. Ohio breeds some strange people, I'm going to tell you. I live here, but I know there's a strange breed of people that comes out of here. But this guy, he parked it in front of the hotel. He set it to blow up. He ended himself, and then it went off. And on almost the same span of time, some other dude drove a truck through a crowd of people in New Orleans, and he intended to have that explode and do more damage. And it's on Bourbon Street, which is one of the main historic arteries of New Orleans. It's party central. There's a lot of people there, a lot of businesses, a lot of tourist stuff. He intended for the whole thing to explode, and it failed. So, but he had a bunch of material about the Islamic State and that kind of thing, whereas the other guy with the Cybertruck, he didn't. He had ties to Ukraine and weird things like that. There's weird stuff going on in the world today. You know, there's weird stuff going on. And we had Jimmy Carter. He passed, former president of the United States, Jimmy Carter. I wasn't cognizant of things when he was president. I was first aware of anyone being the president of the United States while Reagan was president. And then from Reagan on, I've known who the president has been. It was him. Then it was Bush Sr. Then you had Bill Clinton. Then you had Bush Jr. Then you had Obama. Then Trump. Then Biden. And now Trump again. So, pardon me. Goodness. And Yellowstone. Somebody went on a rampage in Yellowstone. They went on a shooting rampage, and they're ranting about race traitors. Not traders, like you're trading races back and forth, but traitors, like a traitor against your race. I don't know. There's just things are getting weird already, and we've got things going on in the world all the time. It's not an isolated problem. There's things that happen in Europe. There's things that happen here. There's things going on all the time, and I don't know. I can't say we're any more violent or any more problematic than we were years ago. But we know about it more often because we have easier access to news sources and things, and the internet and all those other things, and people can find out facts and they can believe what they want, and it's a troublesome time, I'll say. Now, some people would say things like, oh, it's heading to the end times, it's a sign of the end of the world, and I don't think it's that. I do think there's a lot of things coming down the pipeline. I do think that there's going to be a big clash. Whether it's World War III or not, I don't know. I don't know if it's quite that extreme. I think we're kind of in the middle of a Cold World War III, to be honest, where it's not fought with like nukes and things, but it's fought with threats and economic sanctions and things of that nature, whereas in the Middle East you got the extremists and things of that happening, like in Syria and Iran and Afghanistan, and I don't know, it's difficult to kind of piece it all together into something that makes sense. If you have thoughts about it, by the way, this is going to be on Spotify, it's going to be on YouTube, any place that allows you to make a comment. By all means, you can make comments. I don't mind you doing that. By all means, just keep it civil. Don't insult me. Don't just be like, you're just an idiot, you don't know nothing about nothing. Don't call anybody names. Don't be a jerk. Alright? Just put forth your opinion with class, and you're fine. Whether I agree with you or not is besides the point. I'm not going to tell you not to talk, but I am going to tell you not to use an insult, because I'm going to clear you off. I'm going to close your comment down or delete your comment, whatever, because it's not fair to anybody. And I'm not going to get into a flame with your war with you online either. I don't have a Twitter, so I'm not going to jump on Twitter and be like, so-and-so said this about me, and I think he's a big poo-poo head. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that, because it's not important. None of that matters. None of that matters. I'm just going to block you, or I'm going to drop your comment. Who cares? But you can say things that are negative, and that doesn't necessarily make it a comment that needs to be removed. That's the difference. Just because you disagree, it doesn't mean that your comment is bad. I disagree with it, sure, but that's not a big deal. We can disagree. We're okay. We're adults. We should be. We should be adults. We can disagree. That's my phone tapping against my leg. People don't think I'm doing anything dirty over here. I'm not that invested. I don't feel that good. I don't have a whole lot more to say, honestly. We're 45 minutes in, and I wanted to get to the whole hour. But I hit the big points. The thing about Canada and the WWE thing and the winter weather we've got. It's a bit more comfortable over here since I've got my hot water tank in. So that's good. Got the new car battery in, so that's good. So where do we go from here? Where do we go? I don't know, but I'm going to do something else. This is going to be a short episode because I'm sniffly, I'm kind of tired. I have to do a game stream still. And like I said, I've hit most of the points that I wanted to hit. There's going to be more. There's always going to be more stuff to talk about, so you're always going to hear more from me. And if you want to be involved in the conversation, by all means, drop me a comment. Or you can send me an email if you just want to talk to me directly. uncannyspiritsclub@gmail.com. Again, that's uncannyspiritsclub@gmail.com. I don't get emails there from people that often. But you can. That's what it's there for. It is specifically there for you to contact me about things that you might want to talk about or comment on or whatever. And if you want to tell me something and you just didn't want to put your name out there as a public comment, then I'll mention it on the air, but I won't mention your name. I can keep you anonymous. I'm not that kind of a guy where I'm just going to put you on blast. Just as long as you don't, even if you send me something rude and mean-spirited, I'm not going to put you on blast probably, but I am probably going to just ignore your email if you're rude about it. But if you have something to say, by all means, tell me about it. And I'm not going to talk badly about you. That's not how I operate. The only people I talk badly about are people who deserve it, which are generally goblins from Tacoma, Washington. And there's only one of those. There's only one of those. And they know who they are. I'm sure they've got some stooges listening in on my show. Hi, stooges. How you doing? My show's better than yours. That's petty. I know that's petty. I didn't need to say that, but you know what? She deserves it. She does. I believe she deserves everything that comes to her. So that's all. I'm gonna go shuffle off here, and that's that. Have a good night, everybody. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you on the next episode of the show.